Good evening and welcome. Tonight, we begin at the true beginning, not with gods or heroes, but with a single ancient word, chaos. Episode 1, The War of the Gods. It was not disorder, not confusion, it was the void, the original silent, yawning nothing. And from that nothing, the first something stirred. It was not a god, but a force, an idea given form, Gaia, the earth. Then came Tartarus, the abyss below, and Eros, the binding force of desire. These were the first stirrings of a cosmos. From them came others, Nyx, the night, and Erebus, the darkness. From their union sprang the bright air and the day, beginning the eternal chase across the sky. But Gaia was the great mother, and from her own body she brought forth a consort, Uranus, the star-strewn sky. When he arched over her, the world found its first shape. Their marriage was the first act of creation. It bore the Titans, 12 vast beings who would become the first rulers, Oceanus, Hyperion, Themis, and the youngest, Cronus, cunning, watchful, and patient. Yet Gaia bore other children too, the Cyclopes, one-eyed forgers of lightning, the Hecatoncheires, 100-handed giants of unimaginable strength. Uranus saw these monstrous offspring and felt only fear. In a cruel act of shame, he forced them back into Gaia's very womb, imprisoning them deep within the earth. Gaia groaned beneath the weight, and in her agony, she plotted revenge. She fashioned a weapon, a great sickle of gray flint, and she presented it to her Titan sons. Who will wield it? Who will end this tyranny? Only the youngest, Cronus, had the stomach for it. I will, he said, give me the blade. He lay in wait, and when Uranus descended to lay upon the earth, Cronus struck. With one swift, terrible motion, he severed his father's power and cast it into the sea. From the blood that fell upon the earth sprang the Furies, the giants, and the nymphs of the ash trees, and from the foam where the flesh struck the sea rose Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, born from violence and salt. The reign of the sky was over. The age of the Titans had begun. Cronus took the throne, but as his father fled, he uttered a dying curse. Just as you overthrew me, you shall be overthrown by your own child. Cronus heard it, and he never forgot. He ruled in what poets would call a golden age, a time of peace for mortals, but in his own house, fear festered. He married his sister, Rhea, and when she bore their children, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, Cronus, remembering the prophecy, opened his jaws and swallowed them each whole. He consumed them, trapping them within his own divine belly. Rhea, heartbroken and furious, resolved to save her sixth child. When her time came, she fled to a hidden cave on Crete. There she gave birth to a son. She named him Zeus. To trick Cronus, she wrapped a stone in swaddling cloths. The Titan, thinking it his child, swallowed it without a second glance. Meanwhile, on Crete, the infant Zeus was raised in secret, nourished by the goat Amalthea, guarded by warriors who clashed their shields to hide his cries. He grew strong and wise and restless. When he came of age, guided by the earth herself, he confronted his father. With the help of the Titaness Metis, he served Cronus a potent draught. The Titan groaned, convulsed, and vomited forth his children, whole, grown, and blazing with fury. The siblings stood united for the first time. The stage was set. This would be more than a family quarrel. It would be the Titanomachy, the war for the cosmos. For 10 years the battle raged. The Titans, led by Cronus, held Mount Othrys. The new gods, the Olympians, made their stand on Mount Olympus. The world shook with their conflict. It was a stalemate until Gaia counseled Zeus once more. To win, he must free his uncles, the very monsters Cronus had imprisoned. Zeus descended into Tartarus and released the Cyclopes and the 100-handed giants. The Cyclopes, in gratitude, forged the Olympians their ultimate weapons, for Zeus the thunderbolt, for Poseidon the trident, and for Hades a helm of darkness. With these powers and the mountainous strength of the giants, the tide turned. The Titans were cast down, hurled into the deepest pit of Tartarus, bound in chains that would never break. The war was over. A new order had begun. But the world was vast. How would it be ruled? The three brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, drew lots. Fate itself would decide. Zeus won the sky, and with it the high throne of Olympus. Poseidon won the restless seas, and Hades drew the underworld, the silent realm of the dead. The earth itself was left common to all. On Olympus, Zeus established his court. The Olympians gathered, Hera his queen, Demeter of the harvest, Hestia of the hearth, and the brilliant, fierce children who would define an era. Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, born from Zeus's own head. Apollo, god of light and prophecy, and his twin sister, Artemis, goddess of the hunt. Ares, the brutal spirit of war. Hephaestus, the master craftsman. Aphrodite, the irresistible force of love. Hermes, the swift messenger and trickster. They were powerful, glorious, and deeply, irrevocably flawed. They loved, betrayed, quarreled, and meddled. They were gods, made in a startling image, a reflection of the world they now ruled, in all its beauty and terror. But below Olympus, the earth was empty of voices, of hands, of stories. The world was wild, silent, and waiting. And one Titan, who foresaw the Olympians' victory, looked upon the clay of the earth and saw potential. His name was Prometheus, and his act of creation and rebellion would change everything.
Episode 2: The Creation and Downfall of Mankind. Last time, the cosmos found its rulers, but the world beneath the gods was silent and dark. No cities, no songs, no fire, only the green, wild earth and its creatures. One Titan looked upon this emptiness and saw not absence, but potential. His name was Prometheus, whose name meant forethought. Unlike his brother Epimetheus, afterthought, Prometheus saw the consequences of every action, the shape of every future, and he saw a future for the clay of the earth. He took that clay and shaped it in the image of the gods, upright, thoughtful, but he left them weak, soft-skinned, without fang or claw, fur or swiftness. Prometheus looked upon his creation with pity. They needed a gift. He went to Olympus and stood before Zeus. "Lord of the sky," he said, "grant these new creatures fire." Zeus looked down, his eyes like gathering storm clouds. He saw not potential in mortals, but peril. "No," his voice thundered, "fire is the privilege of the gods. Let them shiver, let them fear." But Prometheus, whose loyalty was to justice, not to thrones, did not yield. He climbed Olympus, stole a single ember of sacred fire from the forge of Hephaestus, hid it in a hollow fennel stalk, and brought it down to man. With that single spark, everything changed. Fire was more than warmth. It was civilization. It was cooked food, metal tools, light in the darkness. Humanity began to build, to think, to dream beyond the next sunrise. Zeus's fury was instantaneous and terrible. The king of the gods had been defied, and his punishment would be twofold, one for mankind and one for the Titan who dared to love them. First, for humanity, Zeus crafted a punishment that looked like a gift. He commanded the gods to fashion the first woman. Hephaestus shaped her from earth and water. Athena clothed her and taught her skills. Aphrodite gave her grace and desire. Hermes gave her a cunning mind and a persuasive voice. They named her Pandora, all gifted. She was given a sealed jar, not a box, and told never to open it. Then she was sent to Epimetheus. Prometheus had warned his brother to accept no gift from Zeus, but Epimetheus, true to his name, did not think ahead. He saw Pandora's beauty and welcomed her. Her curiosity, placed within her by the gods themselves, soon stirred. She opened the jar, and from it erupted every sorrow the world had never known: sickness, toil, grief, envy, madness, and death. They flew out like stinging insects, scattering across the earth. In panic, Pandora slammed the lid shut. Only one thing remained trapped inside: Olympus, hope. Whether that was a final mercy or the cruelest trick of all, the poets disagree. But from that day, mortal life was no longer a golden dream. It was a struggle, shadowed by suffering, with only the fragile promise of hope to cling to. For Prometheus, Zeus reserved a more personal torment. The Titan was dragged to a desolate mountain at the edge of the world. He was bound to the rock with unbreakable adamantine chains, and each day a great eagle, the emblem of Zeus, would descend. It would tear open his flesh and feast upon his liver. Each night, as an immortal, his liver would regrow, and each morning the eagle would return, an eternity of agony for the crime of compassion. Yet even in chains, Prometheus held a secret, a prophecy Zeus feared above all, that one day the king of gods would be overthrown, not by strength, but by his own son. And so Prometheus waited, bound but unbowed, while mankind below lit their fires in the gathering dark. Episode 3: The Golden and the Fallen. The world was now populated, but not all ages of mankind were the same. The poet Hesiod told of 5 successive races, each born of the gods, each more flawed than the last. First came the golden race, born in the reign of Cronus. They lived like gods themselves, free from toil, grief, and age. The earth gave her bounty freely. They died as if falling into a peaceful sleep, and their spirits became benevolent guardians of the mortal world. Then came the silver race under Zeus. They lived as children for 100 years, ignorant and spoiled. When they finally grew, they were violent, arrogant, and impious. They refused to honor the gods. For this, Zeus buried them. Their spirits became faint, forgotten shades in the underworld. Next, Zeus fashioned the bronze race from ash trees. They were mighty and terrible, a people of war. Their hearts, weapons, and homes were forged from bronze. They lived for battle and died by it, leaving nothing but ruins. Their spirits sank into Hades without memory or honor. But then a strange and glorious anomaly: the Age of Heroes. This was not a descent, but a brilliant, tragic flare of light. These were the demigods, the children of gods and mortal women, greater, stronger, and more fated than any race before or since. This was the age of Perseus, slayer of the Gorgon Medusa, of Theseus, who faced the Minotaur in the labyrinth, of Jason, who sailed for the Golden Fleece, and, greatest of them all, Hercules, whose 12 labors would become the ultimate measure of a hero. Their stories were not of peace, but of epic struggle. They fought monsters, founded cities, and carved their names into the memory of the world. Many died young. Some were granted a blessed afterlife in the Elysian fields, but they left a legacy that would haunt and inspire all who came after. Finally, we come to the Iron Age, the present age, the age of toil and decay. Hesiod said we live in a time where fathers and sons disagree, where guests betray hosts, where oaths are broken, and where envy, strife, and ruin walk openly among us. It is an age of hard labor, injustice, and struggle. He foretold that one day even this age would end. When modesty and virtue finally fled the world entirely, Zeus would wipe humanity away, leaving no trace. Thus, the gods saw mankind not as a single creation, but as a series of experiments, each fading into the next, from gold to iron, from divine peace to mortal sorrow.
Episode 4. The First Heroes, Perseus and the Labors of Hercules. From the age of heroes, two figures tower above the rest, setting the template for all heroes to come. Perseus, the founder of lines, and Hercules, the embodiment of strength and suffering. Perseus's story begins with a prophecy. His grandfather, King Acrisius of Argos, was told he would be killed by his daughter's son. So he locked his daughter, Diane, in a bronze tower. But Zeus, in a shower of gold, found his way in. Diane bore a son, Perseus. Acrisius cast mother and child into the sea in a wooden chest. They washed ashore on Seriphos, were saved by a fisherman, and lived in peace, until the island's king, Polydectes, desired Diane. To be rid of Perseus, he sent the young man on an impossible quest: bring back the head of Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turned men to stone. With gifts from the gods, Hermes' sword, Athena's mirrored shield, Hades' helm of invisibility, Perseus succeeded. He slew Medusa by watching her reflection, avoiding her deadly eyes. From her severed neck sprang the winged horse Pegasus. On his journey home, he rescued the princess Andromeda from a sea monster. He returned to Seriphos, used the Gorgon's head to turn Polydectes to stone, and saved his mother. Later, at an athletic contest, a discus he threw went astray and struck an old man in the crowd, his grandfather, Acrisius. The prophecy was fulfilled, not by malice, but by fate. From Perseus's bloodline would come the greatest Greek hero, Hercules. His divine origin was marked with strife from birth. He was the son of Zeus and the mortal Alcmene. Hera, in her jealousy, sent serpents to kill him in his cradle. The infant Hercules strangled them with his bare hands. His life was one of immense strength, shadowed by tragedy. In a fit of madness sent by Hera, he killed his own wife and children. To atone, he sought the oracle of Delphi, who told him he must serve his weak cousin, King Eurystheus of Mycenae, and perform 10 labors. 2 would be discounted, making 12. These 12 labors were feats of impossible scale. Slay the Nemean lion, its skin impervious to weapons. Slay the 9-headed Lernaean hydra, heads grew back when cut. Capture the golden hind of Artemis. Capture the Erymanthian boar.
clean the Augean stables, home to thousands of cattle, in a single day, drive away the Stymphalian birds, man-eating with bronze feathers, capture the Cretan bull, steal the mares of Diomedes, which ate human flesh, obtain the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, steal the cattle of the monster Geryon, steal the golden apples of the Hesperides, capture Cerberus, the three-headed hound of Hades. Through these trials, Heracles cleansed his guilt and achieved a glory that resonated across the world. His end, however, was bitter. Tricked by a centaur's poisoned blood smeared on a tunic, he died in agony, burning on a funeral pyre he himself built. From the flames he was taken to Olympus, made immortal, and reconciled with Hera. He alone among heroes crossed the ultimate boundary, from mortal to god.
Episode 5, The City and the Labyrinth. If Heracles was the hero of sheer might, Theseus was the hero of the city, the founder of Athens, and a symbol of human reason. His origins were dual. He was the son of both the mortal king Aegis of Athens and the god Poseidon. Raised in secret, he came of age and lifted a great rock to retrieve his father's sword, claiming his birthright. He chose the dangerous land route to Athens, clearing the road of bandits and monsters, Periphetes the clubman, Cenis the pine-bender, Procrustes the stretcher. He arrived in Athens a proven hero, but immediately faced a greater crisis. Athens was forced to send a terrible tribute to King Minos of Crete, 7 young men and 7 maidens every 9 years to be fed to the Minotaur, a monstrous half-man, half-bull born from the shame of Minos' wife. The beast was kept in a vast, inescapable labyrinth built by the genius Daedalus. Theseus volunteered to go as one of the sacrifices. In Crete, Minos' daughter Ariadne fell in love with him. She gave him a ball of thread and a plan. Tie the thread to the entrance, unravel it as he went in, find and kill the Minotaur, then follow the thread back out. Theseus did just that. In the heart of the maze, he faced the beast and slew it. He escaped with Ariadne and the Athenian youths, but on the journey home, he abandoned Ariadne on the island of Naxos, an act of betrayal that would haunt his legacy. Then, in his haste or grief, he forgot a crucial promise to his father, to change his ship's black sails to white if he survived. From the cliffs of Athens, King Aegis saw the black sails and, believing his son dead, threw himself into the sea, a sea that bears his name to this day, the Aegean. Theseus became king. He unified the region of Attica under Athens, establishing festivals, laws, and the foundations of Athenian democracy. His later years were troubled, a failed attempt to kidnap Persephone from the Underworld, exile, and a treacherous murder. But Athens remembered him as its founding father, the king who turned a town into a state, and the hero who proved that cunning and civic duty could be as powerful as a god's strength. Episode 6, The Voyage of the Argo and the House of Thebes. 2 tales define the complexity of the heroic age, a grand doomed voyage for a prize and a cursed family unraveling from within. First, the voyage. Jason, rightful heir to the throne of Iolcus, was sent by his uncle on an impossible errand: retrieve the golden fleece from the far-off land of Colchis. This was the skin of a magical ram guarded by a dragon. Jason summoned the greatest heroes of Greece, Heracles, Orpheus, Atalanta, the twins Castor and Pollux, and built the ship Argo.
Their journey was a map of wonders and horrors, the woman-only isle of Lemnos, the clashing rocks of the Symplegades, the harpies tormenting the blind seer Phineus. In Colchis, King Aeetes set Jason impossible tasks: yoke fire-breathing bulls, sow dragon's teeth, and defeat the warriors that sprang from them. Jason only succeeded with the help of the king's daughter, the sorceress Medea, who loved him through the magic of the gods. With Medea's spells, Jason stole the fleece. They fled, with Medea committing a horrific act to delay her father. She killed her own brother and scattered his pieces in the sea. They returned to Iolcus, where Medea tricked the usurper's daughters into murdering their father. But Jason's glory was short-lived. In Corinth, he cast Medea aside to marry a princess. Medea's vengeance was absolute and terrible. She sent the bride a poisoned gown that burned her alive, then killed her own sons by Jason. She fled in a dragon-drawn chariot, leaving Jason a broken, forgotten man who died alone, crushed by the rotting hull of the Argo. While Jason's story is of a quest corrupted, the tale of Thebes is one of a curse fulfilled. The founder, Cadmus, slew a dragon sacred to Ares and sowed his teeth, from which armed warriors sprang. His marriage to Harmonia was blessed and cursed by the gods with a necklace that brought ruin. Generations later, King Laius of Thebes received a prophecy. His son would kill him and marry his mother, Queen Jocasta. To avoid this, he abandoned the infant Oedipus on a mountainside, his ankles pierced. But Oedipus was saved, raised in Corinth, and later received the same prophecy. Fleeing what he thought were his real parents, he journeyed towards Thebes. At a crossroads, he quarreled with and killed an old man, King Laius, his true father. Arriving at Thebes, he solved the riddle of the Sphinx, freeing the city. As a reward, he was made king and married the widowed queen, Jocasta, his mother. For years they ruled well, until a plague struck. The oracle declared it would lift only when the killer of Laius was punished. The truth unraveled, piece by horrific piece. Jocasta hanged herself. Oedipus blinded himself with her brooch and went into exile, a broken king guided by his loyal daughter, Antigone. The curse did not end with him. His sons, Eteocles and Polynices, killed each other in a civil war for the throne. Their sister, Antigone, defied the new king to bury Polynices and was sealed alive in a tomb as punishment. The House of Thebes shows a world where fate is a trap, where every attempt to escape a prophecy ensures its fulfillment, and where the sins of the founder are paid for by generations of blood.
Episode 7. The Apple, the Oath, and the War for Helen. All roads of the heroic age lead to a single devastating conflict, the Trojan War. Its origins lie not in politics, but in vanity, love, and a broken oath. It began at a wedding. The sea nymph Thetis was to marry the mortal Peleus. All gods were invited except Eris, the goddess of discord. In revenge, she threw a golden apple into the feast, inscribed, "To the fairest." 3 goddesses claimed it: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. They needed a mortal judge. They chose Paris, a prince of Troy, exiled as a shepherd because of a prophecy that he would burn the city. Each goddess offered a bribe. Hera offered power, kingdom over all men. Athena offered victory in war and supreme wisdom. Aphrodite offered the love of the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Paris chose love. He gave the apple to Aphrodite. Helen's beauty was legendary. Every prince in Greece had sought her hand. To prevent war among them, her mortal father made them all swear a sacred oath
to defend the marriage of whoever won her. The winner was Menelaus, king of Sparta. Helen became his queen. Years later, Paris, now returned to Troy, visited Sparta as a guest. With Aphrodite's promise fulfilled, Helen either eloped with him or was abducted. Paris took her and a great deal of Spartan treasure back to Troy. Menelaus called upon the oath. All the former suitors, now kings and heroes, were bound to sail with him to get her back. A vast alliance, the Achaean host, was formed under the command of Menelaus's brother, Agamemnon, king of Mycenae. Two great heroes were reluctant. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, feigned madness, but was exposed. Achilles, the greatest warrior, son of Peleus and Thetis, was hidden by his mother among women to avoid his fate of dying gloriously at Troy. He too was found. The fleet gathered at Alus, but the winds refused to blow. The seer, Calchas, revealed that Agamemnon had offended Artemis, and only the sacrifice of his daughter Iphigenia would appease her. With a heavy heart or a deceitful promise of marriage, Agamemnon brought her to the altar. In most versions, the knife fell. The winds rose. 1,000 ships set sail for Troy. The stage was set for a 10-year siege that would become the defining war of the ancient world, immortalized in Homer's Iliad. It was a war sparked by an apple, bound by an oath, and fought for a face that launched those 1,000 ships into history. Episode 8: The Wrath of Achilles and the Fall of Troy. For 9 years, the Greek army besieged the mighty walls of Troy to no avail. Homer's Iliad begins not with the start of the war, but in its 10th and final year, with a quarrel that nearly lost the Greeks the war. The great warrior Achilles withdrew from battle after a bitter dispute with Agamemnon, who had taken Achilles' war prize, the captive girl Briseis. Enraged, he prayed to his mother, Thetis, to make the Greeks suffer so they would see his worth. Zeus agreed. Without Achilles, the tide turned. The Trojans, led by their noble prince Hector, drove the Greeks back to their ships, threatening to burn them. Achilles' closest companion, Patroclus, could not bear to watch. He begged Achilles to let him fight, wearing Achilles' own armor to terrify the Trojans. Achilles agreed, but warned him only to defend the ships. Patroclus, flushed with success, chased the Trojans back to the very walls of Troy. There he faced Hector, aided by the god Apollo. Hector killed Patroclus and stripped him of the famous armor. Achilles' grief was world-shattering. His wrath, once directed at Agamemnon, now turned towards Hector with a divine fury. His mother brought him new armor, forged by Hephaestus. Achilles returned to the battlefield like a force of nature, slaughtering Trojans until the river Scamander ran red. He found Hector outside the walls. They fought. Achilles, fueled by vengeance, slew him. Then, in an act of profound desecration, he tied Hector's body to his chariot and dragged it around the walls of Troy before the weeping eyes of his family. For days he abused the corpse. It was only the intervention of the gods and a brave, heartbreaking night visit by Hector's aged father, King Priam, that moved Achilles to return the body for proper burial. In that moment of shared grief, the Iliad finds its poignant end. But the war was not over. Achilles' own fate, foretold at his birth, soon caught him. Paris, guided by Apollo, shot a poisoned arrow. It struck Achilles' one vulnerable spot, his heel. The greatest of the Greeks died, and the war seemed lost. The Greeks, desperate, turned to cunning. On the advice of Odysseus, they built a gigantic wooden horse, an offering to the goddess Athena. They hid their best warriors inside, burned their camp, and pretended to sail away. The Trojans, finding the horse, and the Greek deserter Sinon, who spun a convincing lie, debated what to do. The priest Laocoon warned, "I fear Greeks, even those bearing gifts." But when he was killed by sea serpents, the Trojans took it as a divine sign. They dragged the horse inside their walls as a trophy and celebrated their victory. That night, the hidden Greeks crept out. They opened the gates for the returned army. Troy was put to the sword and the torch. King Priam was slaughtered at his own altar. Hector's infant son was thrown from the walls. The women, including Queen Hecuba and the prophetess Cassandra, were taken as slaves. The great city burned. The war that began for Helen ended in absolute ruin. But for the victors, the journey home would prove that some fates are worse than a clean death on the battlefield.
Episode 9: The Long Way Home. The fall of Troy was not an end, but the beginning of new odysseys, long, painful journeys home that tested the victors as harshly as the war itself. The gods, offended by the Greek sacrilege, scattered the fleet. King Agamemnon returned to Mycenae a conqueror, bringing the Trojan princess Cassandra as his prize. But at home, his wife, Clytemnestra, had never forgiven him for sacrificing their daughter, Iphigenia. With her lover, Aegisthus, she plotted revenge. They welcomed Agamemnon with a bath and a false robe, then murdered him in his tub. Cassandra died beside him. Menelaus and Helen, reconciled, were blown off course to Egypt. After years of wandering, they returned to an uneasy peace in Sparta, their names forever linked to war and beauty, their marriage a ghost of what it once was. But the most famous journey was that of Odysseus, king of Ithaca, whose cleverness had won the war, but whose pride angered the sea god Poseidon. His 10-year voyage home, the Odyssey, became an epic of survival, temptation, and identity. He faced the Lotus Eaters, who offered forgetfulness. He blinded the Cyclops Polyphemus, invoking Poseidon's eternal wrath. He survived the enchantress Circe, who turned his men to swine. He sailed past the Siren's deadly song, visited the land of the dead for guidance, and navigated between the monster Scylla and the whirlpool Charybdis. He spent 7 years as the captive lover of the nymph Calypso, who offered him immortality if he would stay. He refused, longing for his home and his wife. For in Ithaca, his wife Penelope had waited 20 years, surrounded by arrogant suitors devouring his wealth and demanding her hand. She held them off with a famous trick. She would choose a husband when she finished weaving a shroud for Odysseus's father. Each day she wove, each night she secretly unraveled her work. Odysseus finally returned, disguised by Athena as a ragged beggar. He found his son, Telemachus, and plotted. In a climactic trial, Penelope announced she would marry whoever could string Odysseus's great bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads. None of the suitors could. The beggar stepped forward. He strung the bow with ease, turned, and unleashed his vengeance. With his son and loyal herdsmen, he slaughtered every suitor in the hall. Only then did he reveal himself to Penelope. Cautious, she tested him with a secret only they knew. The bed he had built was carved from a living olive tree, immovable. When he described it, she knew her husband was truly home. Odysseus's story is the final, profound myth of the heroic age, a tale not of conquering monsters, but of enduring, of remembering who you are, and of the patient, clever love that guards the hearth while the hero is lost at sea. Episode 10: The Silent Gods and the Fading Fire. With the heroes gone, the world grew older, quieter. The age of direct divine intervention passed. But the gods did not vanish, they transformed, and were themselves transformed by the world they had shaped. New forms of worship arose, reflecting a deeper, more personal hunger. Mystery cults promised not just favor, but salvation. At Eleusis, initiates reenacted the story of Demeter and Persephone,
a myth of loss, search, and joyful return, believing it held the secret to a blessed afterlife. The cult of Dionysus, god of wine, ecstasy, and theater, offered liberation through frenzy and performance, breaking down the boundaries between self and God. The Olympians themselves were changing. Dionysus, the last to arrive, secured his place on Olympus, representing the wild, untamable spirit that civilization could never fully suppress. His myths spoke of the danger of denying the irrational, as King Pentheus of Thebes discovered when he was torn apart by his own mother in a Dionysian frenzy. But even as these cults flourished, the foundations of myth were being questioned. Philosophers like Xenophanes mocked the idea of gods who behaved like flawed humans. Plato admired the myths, but sought deeper philosophical truths behind them. Euripides, the playwright, put the gods on trial in his tragedies, questioning their morality and justice. The world was expanding. The conquests of Alexander the Great spread Greek culture and its gods from Egypt to India. In this new cosmopolitan world, the gods merged with foreign deities in a process called syncretism. The Greek Zeus blended with the Egyptian Amun, Aphrodite with Isis. Then came Rome. The Romans, pragmatic and imperial, did not destroy the Greek pantheon. They adopted it, giving the gods new names and aligning them with Roman virtues. Zeus became Jupiter, the stern father of the state. Hera became Juno, protector of marriage. Ares, the brutal god of war, was supplanted by the more disciplined Mars. The myths lived on in the poetry of Ovid and Virgil, but they became literature, state propaganda, and decoration. The fierce, personal, capricious gods of Homer were slowly buried under marble and bureaucracy. Finally, a new faith emerged from the East, Christianity. It preached one invisible, omnipotent God of love and judgment. This God had no siblings, no lovers, no petty quarrels. To Christians, the old gods were demons or fictions. By decree of Emperor Theodosius in the late 4th century AD, pagan worship was outlawed. The temples were closed, the oracles fell silent, the eternal flame of Hestia was extinguished. There was no final battle. The gods did not storm the heavens in defeat. They simply faded, like the last light of a very long day, into the realm of story. Their temples became ruins, their statues museum pieces, but they never truly died. They retreated into the human imagination, into art, literature, psychology, and language. We still speak of Herculean tasks, Achilles' heels, the Midas touch, and Oedipal complexes. The myths endure because they are not about gods, but about us, about our chaos and our cosmos, our desire and our downfall, our heroic strivings and our long, complicated journeys home. The fire on Olympus is out, but we are still telling their stories by our own hearths, keeping a different kind of flame alive. The story ends. The myth remains. Thank you for listening.